Okay, so now we've got our light all set up. Again, excuse my voice, I'm still fighting this thing. So we got our light all set up. Now we just need to move it all into the next phase, which is just going to be baking our lights down. It's going to be, since we don't plan on making the environment fully real time with that lighting, this will be a great little thing to understand too. So all we need to do is open up first. We're going to go open up rendering light settings. And this little tab, when I grab this tab and put it into one of our inspector tabs over here, it'll give me that full screen. I'm going to open this up a little bit more on both sides here. Okay, so the first thing you'll see is it says it has none for the profile. Well, we want to look at the profile we're using for our sky and fog volume. So we come over to this right here and we click, and it'll show us which one it is. And we just click and drag that into there. And that should do our sky and fog. Then we're going to pick the light we're using, and it's HDRI sky. So all of a sudden everything lights up, right? Okay, no big deal, right? Should be fine. We're going to change this to progressive CPU or GPU. If your computer can't handle it, it means it's going to take it longer to render these things. But let's try this first. Sometimes it turns off in the middle of it, and it just goes to CPU. It's in preview stage, so we don't know how it works. Let's go to 20 for this. So the only thing we're really going to change is the 20 on that. The other thing that seems to kick it off is this ambient occlusion, because it's a big calculator. But we're going to ignore that one too for now. And we're just going to come in and say, it looks like everything. Let's bake. Let's see what we get. If you do it real quick, it should be super fast this time. This was super fast because it didn't do anything. How do we know it didn't do anything? First off, we could look over here. It did this, but that's probably not the way we thought it was going to be. So some things were baked, but not the whole thing. So when we came in and said bake maps, it told it to bake certain things for us. Right now, we only have it set to bake reflection probes. So anything that's 3D also has to say contributed to GUI or to GI, global illumination, or you could just say everything for now. That's fine too. But then we're going to come to our sphere too, and we're going to say spheroid, and we're going to say everything on this one, so that one's fine. So that's probably what we saw rendering right here is our spheroid. Okay, so those are done. What else can we do? Well, there's another thing we can do and we should do. Right now, these lights that we have are set to mix, which means they're part real-time, part not real-time. What I suggest we do is we take it all and we change it to baked, and then we take this one and change it to baked, and then after that we'll make sure if we want to come back we can turn them back on, but I want to show you what happens when we do that. So I'm going to do that. They're all set up. That's it. The next thing I do is I press generate lighting, and this one will take a little bit longer. Ignore that number right there. See how it goes down super fast? It shouldn't be that long anyway. There's another thing you can do up here. Oh, maybe only in display you can. There you go. That was definitely not 3 minutes. And it's done. That's it. Now let's take a look and look at all these baked maps we have. I'm going to take a look at them in a second, but I want to show you something. If your baked maps are working correctly and all your baked lights are set up that way, we can close these up and just grab these two. We can come over to our inspector and say turn those two off. If I can turn those lights off and nothing changes, that means the lighting has been baked in, which now is much faster for the CPU and the game engine to work with. Let's take a look at our lighting real quick. I'm going to come over to this one. I'm going to say open preview, and there it is. What you can do is you can take a look at the geometry on here by clicking this and on and off, but you can see how it laid out all the geometry for the whole environment. And you can see that this stuff out here, if we look, I believe is just like the skybox or the underneath or whatever, which is fine because everything needs to be baked. But yeah, you can see some of this stuff gets great and some of the stuff is not, but that's what we wanted. So that's all we're talking about doing today. So that's what you're going to do is you're going to bake your lighting. You can tweak your lighting, and this is where you tweak and bake and tweak and bake and get it just perfect. Like some people would say you shouldn't use ambient lighting. So let's turn those ambient light, regular lights back on, and then if we bake again, bake, we'll see what we get. something went wrong here. Let me see. I think it turned off these lights by default. Yeah, for whatever reason when you do it with the folder. So I'm going to come back in here and just turn it back on all together and then try again. Bake. This is without my background lighting, the ones I put back here and a little up in here. And you can make it bounce more, and you can do a bunch of other things, but sometimes it's faster and we have more control as artists, so you do our lighting the way we think it needs to look. So as you're doing this lighting, think about that, think about what you need to add, and we will do that for today. And there we go, baked without the lighting, without the secondary lights. What we can do too, we can come back in here, turn these off, right? And then turn these back on. And then change them to, I have to get them all right here, change them to mixed or real time. And that should have turned them on a little bit on the objects. We'll just do back to baked. We'll try that bake again. And there you can see just those are on now. So that's funny. You can see what the difference is. I'm going to go ahead. Cool thing is if you're working in this, you can go ahead and turn other ones back on too. And now it'll reset itself. And see that little light in the background over there helped a lot in my opinion. So that's what we're doing today. Go ahead and try and get your lighting all set up and get it to look really good. And by the time you're done, after it's done baking, hopefully you can get the GPU to work. It'll look something like this, or better, because I would tweak this until they pulled it out of my hands, as they used to say. Okay, so that's it.